Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. AB here, along with Jack, and we are the Streamcasters. Jack, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Feeling good, feeling great. Ready to talk episode 2 of Moon Knight. As you see in the title, thanks for clicking on the podcast or the video. We appreciate you for joining us. Gonna have an in-depth look at the episode and everything that happened in our compact 50 minutes. So, Jack,
Yeah,
I will jump into quick hits, throw it to you, and we'll go from there. How about that?
sounds great.
Skirt! Steven wakes up after the events of episode 1. He goes to the museum and after seeing surveillance of him alone the night before, is fired from his job. He goes to a storage facility using the key from his apartment and finds Mark Spector's belongings, including a bag that has a passport, a gun, some cash, and the Scarab. He has a conversation with Mark's reflection and learns that Mark was a mercenary and the current avatar of Khonshu, the Egyptian moon god. Stephen runs away from Khonshu and he conveniently runs into Layla, who we learned of from the last episode. She takes him to his flat and we learn that they were married, but she is unaware of Stephen's existence. 2 cops show up and arrest Mark for stolen property. We learn that the cops are followers of Arthur Harrow, who also confronts Mark. Sorry, not Mark, Stephen. They have a
Okay.
conversation, and we learn that Harrow used to be an avatar for Khonshu before Mark Spector was, but rejected Khonshu's ideals in favor of Amit's. Arthur reveals the Scarab is a compass to the tomb of Amit and asks Stephen to give it to him. Stephen, about to be ambushed by Harrow's followers when Layla shows up with the Scarab and the two make an escape. Stephen refuses to let Mark take over after finding out he murdered someone and even brings out his own Moon Knight suit. And eventually he gives in to Mark when another jackal is loose about to take out civilians. We see a pretty cool night chase, and then Harrow picks up the Scarab that fell out in the chase. Mark has taken over completely and talks to Khonshu, who tells Mark he needs to get to Amit's tomb before Harrow, or he will use Layla as his next avatar. We end the episode with Mark in Egypt on the hunt for Harrow and the Scarab. Very compact, tight episode. Lots to
Yes.
talk about. What did you think of it, Jack?
Um, I think that this one falls in line with the first one a lot for me, where, I'm not, I'm still curious, I'm still interested, but I'm not super invested. I'm not amazed. We're coasting. It's fine. It's a good show. But it's not one I'm actively recommending to people, I guess. What are your feelings on this one?
I kind of feel the same way. I mean, I have recommended this to someone. A friend of mine texted me last week and said, should I watch it? And I said, you should. It is a fun episode, a
Hmm.
fun show so far. I would say that, yeah, I'm not as invested in this as I was, say, Hawkeye, Low-Key, Falcon Winter Soldier. I was really, really into those shows. I like you. I am into this. I'm curious as to what they're doing. I'm enjoying how this unfolds. I don't find myself in love with it as much as I typically am with Marvel.
Hmm.
Um, but I really want to see where they go with this, and I really want to see more of what they're showing us. So far, I'm into it. It's just not blowing me away.
Do you think that you would be happier with this one if it was all out at once, if you could binge watch all 6 episodes?
It's a good question. I think so. I think so. I think that I enjoy the week to week format Marvel and Star Wars have been doing, but
Hmm.
this is a show I feel like, yeah, when the episode ends, I am like, oh man, I want to see what happens next. And then I go about my day, my week finishes out, and before I know it, it's next Wednesday. I'm like, oh yeah, Moon Knight's out. Like, I don't really think
Right.
about it as much as I did Hawkeye or Falcon, all those other shows. Even WandaVision, which I've been critical of, had me
Hmm.
invested for the vast majority of the show. So yeah, I think that a full on here's all 6, enjoy it might have been better for this. I also think maybe I'd enjoy this a bit more if I was a Moon Knight comics fan. I really never paid attention to the comics, so I'd be curious to see what fans of Moon Knight, the comic run, what they think of the show too.
Yeah, same. I haven't really. I don't think I've heard specifically a review from someone who's a diehard Moon Knight fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also think that this would be a good binge. I like the format too. I like week to week. I think it gets people excited, gets people coming back, and I get that. But with this one, it is It's not a chore to watch it by any means, but it is, the episodes have been a little forgettable, I guess.
It's a good way to put it, actually, because I feel like as things become unfold a bit and we learn a bit more about Mark and Steven and all that, it's interesting, and I do want to see where
Hmm.
that goes. But it is also kind of tough to keep track of everything. Where
Yes.
we have a guy that we don't have much backstory on Steven. We're starting to
Hmm.
get some backstory on Mark. It seems like we might get even more next episode, but we're trying to figure out what's going on with them, along with Khonshu and Harrow. Layla's popped in. We still haven't learned anything about Duchamp. Amit has now been thrown into the mix. These aren't
Hmm.
characters that the casual comic fan are familiar with.
Right.
So they're just kind of throwing a lot at us. And I don't know, we're 2 episodes in, almost halfway through, and it feels like the next episode kind of needs to be an exposition of some sorts, or at least
Yes. We need a
here's a bunch of
flashback.
info. I think we're going to get a flat. I think that given that we ended this episode in Egypt, I feel like episode 3 is going to open up obviously in Egypt, and I feel like we're going to see Mark make the deal with Khonshu, where
Okay.
Khonshu takes him on as his avatar, and we'll see. I think we learn in this episode that Mark, as a mercenary, murdered somebody. I think we'll see that. He alluded to that wasn't what Steven thinks it is, so we might see the actual backstory of what that was and what led to everything. So I do think we will get that. It just isn't time for it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think that, when I was thinking of possible flashbacks, that's the one my mind immediately went to. Then I also think, it would be kind of cool to get an Arthur Harrow flashback too. Get a little bit of insight into why he's so gung ho about Amit and not Khonshu, being Khonshu's ex avatar.
Right. I do enjoy what they're doing with Harrow. I think that he's a really interesting villain, probably the most interesting villain that they've had in quite some time, to be honest. And I
Hmm.
think that when you look at Khonshu's whole thing is he wants to, it's all about the bad deeds that you've done, whereas Amit is deeds that you eventually will do. So there's a whole moral ambiguity there of Steven's like, well, hey, if somebody's 5 and they're going to do something when
Hmm.
they're 35, you shouldn't kill them when they're 5. Whereas, yeah,
Right.
Khonshu is totally fine with break his windpipe and all those things too. So
Yeah.
I do like the theme that they have going on there of what's morally okay, when is it okay to kill someone? Is it if we the Hitler theory that we talked about with
Yeah.
baby Thanos, is it okay to kill baby Hitler, or do we have to wait for him to go and commit mass genocide? It's a pretty fun theme to explore.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see time travel in this show?
No, no,
No.
I don't know why that would make sense here. No.
I don't know. I don't know. Just with the Egypt theme, and they did. I don't remember if it was in my research or if they talked about the god of time or something like that. But I think it might have been in my research.
There may.
Um, I don't know if that would be good or bad for the series, but definitely some sort of flashback. I'm stuck on the flashback. I think that's what the show needs.
I agree, and I think it would be cool to get some context on Arthur Harrow too, to see how he became Khonshu's avatar, and maybe something that
Yeah.
happened in his childhood that he holds on to that ideal, so that when push comes to shove, he finally says, "No, I believe in Ahmet's ways." That I think would help as well.
Yeah, either way, we just need more information about how these so-called deals work with these Egyptian gods, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you make a deal? How do you get out of a deal? How, if Khonshu is this all-powerful being, how is Arthur Harrow still alive? He doesn't want to be his avatar anymore. Does he just have that say? Did he complete a deal? Like, there's a lot we don't know about these avatars.
It does feel like we're heading there. I do feel like episode 3 is going to explore that. I know from the comics, Mark Spector was on the verge of death and made the deal
Right.
with Khonshu to you can have control of my body if you save my life. And that's how that happens. But he's threatening Mark with, I will take on Layla as my avatar.
Hmm.
but was Harrow able to just say, I don't want this anymore? Could Mark do that as
Yeah.
well? And I guess if Mark does reject him, does Khonshu just get to pick Layla, or does she have to also agree to it? So yeah, I think that.
Yeah, is it like his word that's binding? Like, why doesn't he just take Layla over right now? Like, he's a god, right?
Yeah, I do think that we need a bit more context on that.
That's why I was thinking maybe he, I don't know. This is, I don't know. I was thinking maybe he doesn't actually care to have Layla as the Avatar. Maybe he just wants to say that and use it as leverage for Mark. I mean, it's a little loose, but I just don't know why he would want Layla instead of Mark if he's already got a working relationship with Mark. He's already been able to manipulate Mark to some extent,
Yeah. I think that is likely, but I don't know. Mark seems like a smart guy that would be able to deduce, well, hey, why don't you just take her on now if it's that? Yeah, I don't know. It is a bit weird. I hope that they explore that a bit more. It's not a barrier of enjoyment for me at this point. I do think that if we get to like episode 5 and we still don't know what's going on here, I'd say, okay, let's get on with this. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's get some information here. But one thing I'm looking for them to clarify as well is they haven't actually come out and said that Mark and Steven have dissociative identity disorder. That hasn't actually ever been confirmed. They did allude to some therapy, but there's no explanation as far as how long this has been going on, who's the original. I would speculate that Mark is the original and that Steven has been around for maybe a year or two or a few months, just because of Mark's extensive back history as a mercenary, along with his prior marriage. And also we do know that Steven's English accent is very bad, and Oscar Isaac has said that he is doing that on purpose. So that's what leads me to believe that Mark is the OG.
I have stuff to I have an idea to pile on that, and I don't know if this is something you put in your notes, but since I mentioned it in his relationship with his mom in the first one, I'll bring it up again. Layla was surprised that Steven, who she was thinking is Mark, is talking to mom again, and I'm thinking maybe Mark and his mom don't get along, and that's why she's not picking up Steven's calls.
Yeah, I did catch that line. It's because the last episode I didn't even catch the mom stuff, and then of course I was looking for something this time around, and then when they brought that up, I was like, I wonder what that is. So yeah, I do have that in my notes. I just don't know what to make of that and what the significance of it is. If maybe she's dead, but then the whole line of you're talking to her, well, maybe Mark didn't tell Layla that she's dead, and maybe maybe it hurts. Yeah. Maybe he's the reason she died, or maybe she is alive and she's really strenuous. Maybe. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, but I do think your theory that Steven is a new alias or a new personality, just based on if Steven has been around his whole life, how would Mark have had the time to have a relationship that ends in a marriage and in this mercenary lifestyle? Like there has to be there's something that we don't have. There's a piece we're missing to this puzzle with Mark.
For sure.
We know very little about him.
I do feel like when we get to the end of episode 6 and all of the cards are laid on the table, I think that we'll be fine. We just have so many questions and there are so many moving parts going on right now that it's hard to keep up with everything, and we're trying to just jam puzzle pieces in there.
Exactly.
I don't want to hold that against them, because I mean, part of the fun of a week-to-week show is the mystery and everything sort of fitting together. I just am ready for some answers. Right. I do think we'll get there next episode.
Yeah, at the same time, this is another, instance. We talked about this a lot when we were reviewing Loki. Like it's only 6 episodes. We're too deep. I feel like very little has happened.
Yeah, true. Very little feels like it. I mean, it's only been a couple of days in real world time, I think, for this event happened. I guess not. I mean, he was asleep for a few days, so about a week or so, I suppose. Mm-hmm. This episode tried to, I think, move us along a bit and give us some clues and a few answers from the last episode. I will say that some of the highlights, that chase scene, even right when the Jackal first comes out and you're seeing Steven try to get his own suit, and he pops into the Mr. Knight suit, and all of that was a lot of fun. And then when you finally get the actual Moon Knight suit, that chase was great, and some of the cinematography and the shots that they use with the moon in the background, and he's jumping up, and it was really well done. I thought that was a really entertaining and exciting scene.
I loved the kill.
Oh,
I love the kill.
yeah.
That was really good. They did a good job there. And it was from the trailer, but they altered it. How crazy.
Yeah. They're teetering on that line between dark but also keeping it Marvel-y.
Yeah.
If that's a word.
No,
Just
I get what you mean though. Because it's like it's a like a kid-friendly PG-13 vibe that they're trying to keep up with.
Right. Yeah. So the scenes where Steven is in his suit, the Mr. Knight suit, that's all done for comedic effect. You know, he's doing the bounce around, and he's come
Which is good. I liked it. It's kind of silly.
Yeah, I want Marvel to be Marvel. I was hoping this would be a little bit more on the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take what I can get when it comes to that. I don't need everything to be the Batman, but I would like to see them just teeter a little bit further into the dark side of things, especially with this character. But
I mean,
do
you
think
take all these MCU properties, like this is on the darker end of the spectrum, but still it's not very dark.
Yeah, it is. I mean, yeah, compared to some of the other stuff that we've had, it's compared to Guardians and things like that, it's definitely darker. But I would like to see them get a little bit more into that dark side, especially as you see this character maybe start to interact with other supernatural or similar characters like Doctor Strange. Eventually, I'm sure we'll see him with Ghost Rider, maybe even not. Punisher's not supernatural, but maybe we'll see him interact with Punisher at some point.
That'd
hopefully.
be sick.
Yeah,
maybe
right.
Blade.
And so I'm glad you said that. I don't have this in my notes, but I think that if we're going to get one other Marvel character in this show, I think that Blade makes a lot of sense to pop up here.
Yeah, I don't see why not. It's kind of in line, kind of enough.
Well, think about what we have not seen Blade. We've heard Blade one other time. And think about where we heard him was in that post-credit scene of Eternals, which was set in London.
Ooh,
so
okay.
Who's to say that we don't see a Dane Whitman, a Black Knight pop up, or maybe we see a little bit of Blade? I don't know. It feels like we might see him before his movie, whenever that's coming out, whether that's next year or 2024. Feels like as good a spot as any from what we know of for him to pop up in.
Yeah. How would you feel about a Blade cameo at like post credits episode 6?
I think that would be great. I think that would be the place to do it. So you don't want to take away from the show. You don't want to take away from Moon Knight. Yeah. I think that would be the spot to do it. Yeah, an extended cameo spot, like maybe
something that kind of eases fans into season 2 if they decide to push Moon Knight in that direction.
I don't think we're going to get a season 2 on this one. I think it's
you think this is isolated, just 6-parter?
They're marketing it as a 6-episode event. They're not saying season 1 or anything like that. So
that almost surprises me.
Not me. I mean, that's other than Loki. They've all been a limited series set to launch into other movies. I mean, obviously, we're going to see Wanda pop up in Doctor Strange soon. Sam and Bucky are getting their own spinoff Captain America movie. Well, who knows when we'll see Loki? Probably might even see him in Doctor Strange. So, I mean, all these shows seem to be setting up bigger crossover movies. I don't think that we'll see. I think that everything we could see a tease with Blade here at the very end, and then we see Moon Knight pop up in Blade.
That would be good. That would be, no, you're right. That's cleaner. I like that.
Yeah. I just don't know, because if you're not going to do another Moon Knight season, I don't know when the next time you see him. I guess if they're going to do a new Avengers movie, or I don't know. It doesn't make sense to have him.
Just the way that he is as a character, it seems clunky to throw other heroes at him, right?
A little bit. Yeah. But he does in the comics. He does interact with Punisher. He does interact with the Midnight. He's one of the Midnight Suns. We see him interact with Spider-Man quite often, actually. So he is a character that is an Avenger and is among the rest of the heroes. I think that Mark Spector makes more sense than Stephen Grant. So I'll really be curious to see how they handle that and the
Hmm.
whole switching of personalities, and if a third personality perhaps pops up.
Yeah, is it rumored, or do we know of a third personality that's coming, or?
So in the comics, um, there's Mark Spector, who's the main guy. Then there is Jake Lockley, who's a cab driver, and then I'm pretty sure Stephen Grant is supposed to
Oh,
be as like a billionaire businessman. So I think it feels like this
okay.
Stephen Grant is maybe a combination between Jake Lockley and Stephen Grant, because it's weird that Stephen Grant is this museum like worker.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Well, it kind of helped the plot of the first episode, because why would he have all this knowledge of ancient Egypt, and why would he be near all these artifacts and stuff? That part of it really helped bridge, helped the plot
Yeah,
get going faster, I guess.
yeah. It is. I will say that once you said that, it brought up something I did like from the episode when Layla shows up at his flat and she's going through all of his stuff. She
Hmm.
sees all of his ancient Egypt paraphernalia, memorabilia, whatever it is,
His
artifact
studies,
stuff.
yeah.
His studies, and they're talking about it, and he's super into it and super fascinated by it, and they're finishing each other's sentences, and you could tell
Hmm.
that he's interested in it because he remembers Mark knowing about it from their marriage.
Yeah, he likes her.
Yeah, well,
Steven
for
likes
sure,
her.
he does. Well, obviously, Mark still loves her too. So it really is. I thought that was a really well done scene, and there was another thing that they had in common that I can't remember what it was, but it was really well done, I thought.
They were both reciting that French poetry.
The poem. That's right.
Yeah, yeah, that was kind of out there. As far as I feel like that could have been anything, but they decided to do a French
The
poem.
French poem, yeah, could have been their love for the Animaniacs or banana pudding, but they went with a French poem.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Obviously I don't speak French, so I don't know what those words were, but maybe it was a love poem that they were
Yeah,
reciting together.
I almost wonder if it was something that she was really passionate about that Mark kind of didn't really care about, and she maybe had voiced that as a concern, and
Probably.
subconsciously he just recognized it, because when she recognized that he recognized it, she was almost taken aback in a way.
Yeah,
And so yeah, it seems like maybe that was his way of, not his way, but the residual memories of that motivated him to get into that.
that was probably her the first time that she was like, "Shit, you're not Mark,"
Right, exactly, where she kind of
Yeah.
realized like something's weird here.
Hmm.
So, because yeah, by the time they get to that chase, she's full on believing that he is not Mark Spector.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the chase, what do you think about what do you think about the Invisible Jackal?
Yeah, I don't really know what it reminds me a lot of Thestrals from Harry
Yeah,
Potter.
same. I was thinking that too.
Yeah, because I saw a theory that you could only see them if you were close to death, which is the
Okay.
whole thing with Thestrals, right? Because nobody else could see them. Layla couldn't see them. Only
Yeah.
Mark could. Or maybe it's just the whoever it gets summoned against is who could see them. Because I mean, yeah, again, the guy at the museum, the security guy, he couldn't see it either. So
Yeah.
uh, it does make for a fun scene because it adds to the comedy of, well, what's going on with this nutter out here trying to, is he doing a dance, what is he doing,
Yeah.
a demonstration, what's going on? But it was entertaining. I think that whole scene again was just, I think, the highlight of the episode for me.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. I don't know. I like that. I like that they're trying stuff. I wish that I knew. I wish that I already knew why it was invisible. Why we can't see it, because just at the very surface level, I'm a little bit annoyed with it, because I think invisible enemies are a little bit overdone. We've seen people fight invisible things. I don't know. It's not clicking with me, and I'm having a hard time putting my finger on why, but I don't really care for it.
What, I'm lost here. What have we seen that is invisible? Are you
I'm
talking
just
about the
talking
other?
about in just movies and shows in general. Like we've seen that CGI. We've seen people fight invisible things. I don't know.
True.
I don't know.
It does seem that it's unnecessary, given that it's a formidable creature that nobody really seemingly can handle other than Moon Knight. So it's like,
Hmm.
why does it need to also be invisible? So I guess that's a fair, but it also, maybe it was just done to show that he um, has some weird stuff going on in his head, and that's why he got fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It
If
is
you know,
weird.
if they give us a reason and it's a fair reason, I'll take back my being annoyed and everything. But as of right now, I'm a little irritated by it. It's not my favorite thing of the show.
That's fair. I mean, it's fair too because we've seen the Jackal twice now, and I
Yeah.
would assume we'll see more of them. So I think that yeah, if we could get some context as to why they're
Hmm.
invisible, it might help. But I don't know. I guess I just hadn't really thought of it. I just maybe I'm just like I'll just buy it. You know, sometimes that's kind of how I am. I'll
I
buy
don't
whatever you're
know.
selling me.
Maybe I just feel like I showed up to a fight and I'm only seeing half of it. I don't know. Maybe it's just a me thing.
Yeah. I mean, it does add to the difficulty of fighting it because she's like, "What are you doing? What is going
True,
on right now?"
true.
You know. So
Yeah, we're kind of seeing it from the spectator's view because this is what those people on the bus would have seen, what the
yeah.
person in that car that crashed into him would have seen.
Yeah, for sure. I'm
Yeah.
glad that it was actually there though, and not in his head, because at first that's what I thought it
Yes.
was. At first I thought it was just in his head because she's like, I don't see anything. But then when she finally throws the glass and you could see that a little bit of the outline, I was like, okay, this thing is actually there.
It
Because
is there.
that was another thing that I was kind of concerned about. Is there are some theories that even Moon Knight is in his head and that Moon Knight isn't actually real, which would really
I
be
would be
annoying.
so disappointed if that was
Yeah.
true.
I
Yeah,
don't
if
think
it's
that's what
all
they're gonna
just
do.
him running around being crazy, that would be
Yeah.
such a disappointment.
I agree. I don't think that's what they're doing. I think that that would be really frustrating, and I think that would be a waste of a show if that was what they wanted to do. But
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't think that's because, and especially because she's asking him to bring the suit out. That
Right.
tells me that that's not the case. So I hope that that theory just goes away because that's a really dumb theory in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Well,
what are we so Arthur Harrow ends up with the Scarab. He does get the Scarab at the end, and he's in the wind, so
yeah,
we expect to see them, them being Arthur Harrow and Mark slash Steven, fight over, access to this tomb. What are you thinking for the next episode? What are you wanting to see?
for the next episode, I want to see kind of what we talked about. I want to see a flashback to really where Mark met Khonshu.
Hmm.
I think that it would be nice to see a little bit of that with Arthur Harrow, but I would understand if they didn't do that. I would be totally fine if they just either passively said what his deal was or didn't even really touch on it and at all. I think that they're doing a decent enough job with him. I'm invested in him as a villain, so I would like to see a bit more context. I would like to see I would like to see them explain how Mark knows how to find him. I mean, I guess you could deduce Egypt because an Egyptian tomb, but he just
Hmm.
kind of shows up there and knows what to do. Maybe there's a bit of backstory there. I expect that the big blow off here for the show is going to be Mark as Moon Knight, Khonshu's avatar versus Harrow, Amit's avatar. It feels like Arthur Harrow is going to get Amit, and Amit
Hmm.
is going to take control, and we'll see this big final battle, which hopefully is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of want to see them answer some questions and keep this thing moving along. I am invested. I'm into it. I think that it's entertaining. It's just not my favorite thing from Marvel so far.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah, and I
What
agree.
about you? What are you hoping for in episode 3?
Expectations for episode 3. I'm thinking, I think ideal scenario for me at least would be to see Arthur Harrow succeed and awaken Amit so that we get a nice villain. I hope that I hope that Amit looks and acts kind of similar to the way that Khonshu does, with like a floating skull or some big elaborate. I really like the imagery of Khonshu. I said it in the first episode, so it rings true with this one. The imagery of Khonshu is amazing.
I agree.
So yeah, I hope we awaken Amit. I would love to see a flashback. If we don't get a flashback, I just feel like we got to get it in the fourth one. We got to get more context.
Yeah, I would not expect Amit until probably the fourth, maybe even the fifth one. I just don't know. The story is to me finding Amit, because once you
Hmm.
have Amit, it's okay. We got to stop Amit. So if you're gonna do that in
True.
episode 3 or even 4, what do you do with the rest of the show? It feels like
Hmm.
that's an episode 5 cliffhanger sort of thing. But
Maybe.
I think the fun is going to be Arthur trying to find Amit. Maybe at one point Mark and Steven get the Scarab back, or there's some weird push and pull with
Yeah.
that. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm a little tired of them fighting over the Scarab.
Uh, and they don't
I know
need to
it's only
keep
been
doing
two
that.
episodes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
am glad that they cut to the chase on the Scarab this episode too, because yeah, I think that if we would have had to wait another episode to figure out what it was, it would have almost been like The Watch in Hawkeye, where it's like,
Jeez,
what
yeah.
is this? It just belonged to Laura the whole time.
Oh, it's Khonshu's eye patch, and then it has like, oh, look at
Yeah,
this. It was nothing the whole time.
yeah,
So
exactly.
long.
I'm glad they cut to the chase on that for sure. All right. Well, I don't have much else left to talk about this episode. Did you have any other notes?
No, I think I'm good, man.
All right. Cool. Well, I guess we'll just wrap it there, folks. Again, thanks for jumping in with us. Let us know how you're feeling about Moon Knight so far. The links to our social media accounts are in the show notes below. If you're on the YouTube, leave a comment. We'll give you a shout back. Feel free to subscribe, like the video, hit the bell for further content. And until next time, folks, keep on keeping on.
We love you so much, and we'll catch you later.